And the same thing. They're laughing at me. I'm embarrassed, but I'm not going to take that. Okay. So I'm going to walk my little bum over to their seat. I'm going to walk my little tail over to their seat. I'm going to say, hey, you see something on me funny? Right? Or I might tell them some other things. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about how to navigate between emotions, thoughts, and what we do with them. Big disclaimer here, this channel offers general education only on emotion regulation tools and skills that we can use. It is not intended to replace therapy or to treat or diagnose. If you feel like you're having a mental health crisis or you need to talk to someone, please go ahead and take care of your mental health. This video is supplemental, entertainment at best. Um, so let's get into it. Emotion regulation is hard, okay? It is very hard. Let's be very clear about that. It is hard because it doesn't come natural to anybody. When you were born, you didn't burst out the womb going, yay, I know how to handle my emotions. No, you didn't know how to do that. You had to learn that. And depending on your environment, depending on what you were taught, that can kind of influence how you learn to either express them, have them, navigate them, share them, and be with them, right? And so much more. So let's also be very clear that there is absolutely nothing wrong with having emotions. Having them is not the problem. It's how we express our emotions that matter. It's what we do with them and how we treat the people that we love and even the ones that we don't like that matters. So the T triangle is from cognitive behavioral therapy. And cognitive behavioral therapy is a well-known, well-researched, well-used type of therapy. It is what you typically refer to as talk therapy, right? It involves the understanding between how we think, how we feel, and how we behave. Um, and this concept, the T triangle, is very integral to that portion of the work. You can use it for anything. So I'm just going to share it today. And we're going to talk about it a little bit and see how it fits into your life. If it doesn't fit, it don't apply, let's move on. I don't know how you got to my channel, but thank you so much for joining me. This is obviously my first video, and so I'm very excited, also very nervous. So bear with me, or don't. It don't really matter. Again, thanks for stopping by. So the T triangle is going to be a 45-degree angle triangle. I'm out of school, so I don't have to care about those things. It doesn't really matter, right? The T triangle has this concept that our thoughts are connected to our emotions and our emotions are connected to our actions. So let's say that you probably don't believe that. The idea is that what we think, right, influences what we feel, and what we feel then influence how we act, and how we act inadvertently confirms what we think. So I usually love to share this particular exercise or particular scenario when I'm working with clients or just kind of just talking through it, even with my kids, right? So I've shared this particular example, played around with it a little bit based on the person and who is digesting the information. I call it the cafeteria story. I don't remember where I got it from. I'm pretty sure I didn't make it up. So I don't want to take credit for it. I will say I put my jazz on it every now and then. So, okay. All right. So let's start with a scenario. You are, say we're adults here. You are first day of work. You walk into the cafeteria or the wherever adult people eat when they work. You walk into the cafeteria. It is your very first day of work, very, very first day of whatever it is that you're doing. As soon as you enter the room, you hear a burst of laughter. And I mean like loud. People are going at it. And all of a sudden you look in the direction where the sound's coming from, and you notice that all of the people that are laughing are looking at you. So just picture it. You walk in, very first day, you enter the door. As soon as you enter, laughter erupts, and all the people are looking at you and they continue to laugh, right? Now you can play around with this, like, were they laughing before I got in? Yada, yada, yada. It doesn't really matter. What I want to focus on is what is happening to the person entering the room. So whenever I share this story, most often people say something to me. They say something like, Shari, I would think they're laughing at me. I'm like, yeah, you know what? That makes sense. You would think they're laughing at you because you entered a room and they're all looking at you and laughing. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to put those two together, right? So I said, okay, so say that's the thought you have. Say you do think they're laughing at me. How would you feel? How would you feel? Now, most people, when I say this and when they say yes, I walk in, I think they're laughing at me, and they would say something like, I probably feel embarrassed. I probably would feel self-conscious, start looking. Okay, and I say, okay, calm down, wait before you go any further. You start to feel self-conscious, you start to feel embarrassed, you start to feel judged, maybe even vulnerable, right? And that also makes sense, right? Because if I'm thinking that they're laughing at me, I'm going to feel those things. Now, the difference sometimes is in the action. How we respond can differ based on our temperament. It can differ based on how we were raised. It can differ based on our experiences, and just how we navigate situations. It can also differ based on if you showed up to work tired, triggered, and hungry. Okay? Mhm. Let's just be honest. Those are bad combinations. And most of us are doing this. So you say you are more of like a passive person, right? I don't really like that word. So maybe say more you're more of like a reserved person. You might hold your judgment outwardly for others. They might not know what you're going through, that kind of thing. But you're still embarrassed, you're still self-conscious, you still feel vulnerable. So you're gonna look around, right? You're probably gonna feel a little bit ashamed depending on what you brought to the room. Maybe you had an experience with something like this happen already. So this is now affecting you on multiple levels, right? So you walk into the space, you get this laughter, you're embarrassed, and then now you're looking around, you're judging yourself, you're all quiet, you maybe eat your food and leave, or you maybe take your food somewhere and don't eat it, or you don't eat it. But either way, you shut down. Next day, you're going to show up to work, you're not going to feel, inclined to necessarily be engaged. And then it can continue even beyond the actual event. And that's something we might find out more about in future videos, why that actually happens. So be sure to come back in the future. But let's stick to this moment, right? So you are more reserved, you might opt to walk away. Now, there are some people that are not more reserved and that would like to defend themselves in some way. And they might do so outwardly. Okay. So this could look like a person saying thinking the same thing. They're laughing at me. I'm embarrassed, but I'm not going to take that. I'm going to walk my little tail over to their seat. I'm going to say, hey, you see something on me funny? Right? Or I might tell them some other things. Right? And if I already came from another situation where I'm just like, you know what? I do not like to be treated this way. So I'm coming over here and I'm telling people, no, I didn't ask. I have already made up my mind that they were indeed laughing at me. And I'm going to defend myself. So I'm going to go over there and act a fool. Right? And now everybody knows, or maybe I think everybody knows, that I am going to aggressively come at you or be defensive about me. Okay? None of these things are right or wrong. I'm just sharing with you how some people might respond. So you can either drop in the comment, how would you probably respond? Okay. All right. Say it's the same scenario. Walking into the cafeteria, looking at you, but rather than thinking they're laughing at me, you have the thought, something must be funny. And I just missed it. Or maybe it's still happening, right? Wow. Shari, come on now. Who gonna really think that? Well, believe it or not, when I do ask this question, about one or two people usually pick this one, right? It's not a very common one. It may be a thought that we put in our mind, but sometimes we might get rid of it, depending on, again, what we're dealing with. Okay. So say you have that thought. Where you get it from, maybe you're eternally optimistic, maybe you just have been in situations before. All of the same answers to the first thing applies, right? Maybe you're just like really emotionally intelligent and you can know those things. Maybe both ideas came into your head, but you opted for this one instead. It really doesn't matter. But let's examine the train there. So we're just following that T triangle. Thought, something must be funny. I must have missed it, or it's still happening. That's going to make me feel what? Curious. Yes, curious. It's going to make me feel curious. It's going to make me feel something, intrigued. Again, same two kind of people. And of course, you have in the spectrum, right? Maybe I'm more reserved. So I'm still going to smile and look over there and see probably what's going on, maybe, right? I'm going to be like, oh, this is a nice little workplace. I might not share it with everybody because, again, I'm more reserved, but I'll go eat my lunch, move on, and I'll just be thinking, like, these people just chill and funny all the time, right? And what if I'm not that out, inwardly person? I might go over and be like, hey guys, what's going on? I'm Shari. Nice to meet you. I like how you guys, keep it laughing in here because work be hard sometimes. So, you know, I don't know if I can sit with you guys. And maybe the conversation leads to, wow, I'm really curious what was so funny. And they tell you, right? Or depending on what you got at the table, they might not. Either way, one action changes because the emotion changed, but the emotion only changed because the thought changed. So, what does this have to do with emotional regulation? Well, I'm glad you asked. One of the things we got to remember is the objective of our brain. Our brains are built for safety and sometimes not accuracy, right? So the idea is that I'm going to preserve my being at all cost, right? In order to remain thriving, surviving, whatever word you want to use. So it won't be that I'm not about the facts, but my body's trying to find safety. Some people use the word psychological safety, you know, whatever those things. But whatever the word is you're trying to use, we were designed in such a way to ensure our safety. The challenge with that is if we don't have the other tools to navigate that, we might see danger where there aren't any danger, right? We might respond to certain situations when we shouldn't have necessarily responded that way, or we could have responded a different way because it goes against our values. The T triangle allows us to make that connection between what we think, what we feel, and what we do. And so a lot of times clients come to me and they're like, hey, um, maybe my daughter, is just misbehaving and they're not listening. And so can you just fix their behavior? And I'm like, okay, let's do it. But first of all, what is your daughter feeling? Right? Then, what is she thinking about these things? Because again, remember that that cycle continues. What we think affects our emotions, affects our behaviors, and then consequently affect our thought. So in the scenario of the cafeteria, if I had the thought, this is a psychologically unsafe environment because they're laughing at me, and I had the experience of leaving and had to defend myself, and then they have to retaliate, then I'm going to confirm that this is an unsafe environment. And if I had the opposite thought, where I think, oh my goodness, these people are funny, right? I'm funny. I'm a social little butterfly. Well, I might go over there and engage in conversation, feel regulated, connected, right? Especially if they share. And I'll feel like, oh my goodness, this is a nice little environment, you know? And if they reciprocate that, then I also will feel like, oh yeah, I guess I am real social and I do like people. So the understanding that connection is integral to emotional regulation, right? It also is understanding what the root of problems are. So behaviors are a third of the equation. So our emotions, our thoughts is that central piece. Again, only if you're using this framework. And it's a very popular framework. I hope it provides some insight to you for how you navigate your day to day. My advice would be to find moments where you can pause and, just like they used to tell you when you were a kid, think before you speak. When we take the time to pause and reflect on what we're feeling, it can allow us sometimes to think about, well, what are we thinking about this feeling, right? And consequently, what do I want to happen? And much of therapy, when you go to your therapist, much of the things that you're going to be working through, especially around emotional regulation and navigating trauma, will be getting to the root of some of those thought patterns that we have. Right? We don't need to control our emotions. We need to be able to connect with them, um, and allow them to connect with you, like have the whole experience. Where's my emotion coming from? Oh, it's because I have this thought about this, right? And then we go from there. Really hope this was helpful for you. For more tips like this, or for more conversations and videos about navigating emotions, please visit emotionregulationtools.com. Brand new site. You'll be able to download some free worksheets for yourself, or for clients, or for sharing with a friend. It is very hard to navigate this world. So having tools that allows us to have better conversations, better relationships, better self thought, right, is so important. Bye, y'all.